And good morning, all y'all. Lancaster Woodturners Weekly Coffee Hour number 237. I'm in Bradenton, Florida with my old friend Ellis Walentine. Um, Ellis ran a business called Woodrose, making furniture in Pennsylvania for many years, and then he became editor of American Woodworker magazine for Rodale, along with David Sloan, who often comes on here.
Yeah.
Ellis and his wife Candy divide their time between here and Bradenton, Florida, and a lovely house they built on Quadra Island in British Columbia. So they're half the year there and half the year here. So I like to visit them there and I like to visit them here. We've been friends for many, many years. We got 43 on so far this morning. It'll probably get to 50. And let's look at some wood turnings, Alice. Let's spotlight me here.
You are the guy. You just tell me what interests you and
Well,
I'll
I'm gonna
yak about it.
start picking these up. Start with whatever one you want.
Well, what's a good one to start with? Don't want to start with the best thing I got here. I don't know.
I'm going to try and see if I can use the two camera deal.
Well,
Yeah, start with that one. Bring it right up and get it. Let's just work right here for a little bit.
this is an odd piece, and to really appreciate this, I have to turn it quickly so you see how bizarre
Back
it
up a
is.
bit so to here.
Okay,
Yeah.
you do this. If
It's
you rotate it, you can see how gnarly, and John and I were talking about this earlier today. I'm one of those round and brown guys. I don't do any piercing or painting or stitching or anything like that, but I like to let the wood express itself. So I turn green and I'm always interested to see where it goes from green. You know, after it comes off the lathe, what does it do? Some woods stay nice and round and beautiful and they don't get check on the pith. And other woods like this, which believe it or not, is a piece of a rose bush that my brother in Texas sent me. Um, this thing has distorted to the point. The only wood I think that I've ever turned that was more reactive than this was myrtle.
Yeah, and this has got like it's got beautiful, subtle little figure in it. The other thing I should tell you is Ellis has been best friends with David Ellsworth for many years, and he uses Ellsworth hollowing tools. So we're going to see a lot of Ellis's hollow turnings and some of Ellsworth's as well. We're going to operate here at the breakfast bar looking at some things, and then we're going to start moving around the room. The number of turnings to look at here is mind-blowing. So
What
we'll
can
go
I
with this
say?
one.
All right, this one I don't even remember what the wood is, to tell you the truth.
Bring it up where we can see it.
But
It's a beautiful, beautiful shape. There's a little lip here is little cove recess. You guys can jump in with questions and comments anytime you want.
right,
This is totally round bottom, this one.
yeah, I like this
It's
because
very light.
it gives the wood the chance to find its own balance. Because when you set it down on the table, it just rocks until it stops, and then you can see how uniform the actual shape of the wood is. And
Let's see if we can get that now. Let me
That
get
one
that.
reminds me of a gourd.
It does. Now I'm looking at it with the other camera.
oh,
Spotlight the other camera if you would.
Yep.
So we have two spotlights.
Hang on. Add spotlight. There we go.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Spotlight. There we go.
Yeah, that's what we want.
yeah. So this is a really interesting piece, but
What kind of wood is that?
oh, you would have to ask me, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would have to ask.
I honestly don't even remember, John. What does it look like to you?
I have Kentucky coffee tree, maybe.
Okay, well,
Smokewood.
could be anything.
Yeah, tree wood, definitely from a tree.
All right, so there's one piece. Yeah, I don't do many pieces with no feet on them. I like the thing to pretty much stand. This is a piece of spalted hickory that I got in the driveway of my mother-in-law's house about 25 years ago, and I turned two pieces out of it. It's got really nice figure. I don't know if you can get in on that.
Yeah, I can get in on that.
Just the fleck of the rays and the spalt and so forth are really kind of unusual. And from that same tree, this is one of my pieces I'm actually fairly proud of. But this is about a 1 foot diameter spalted hickory bowl with a completely intact bark ring, and it's curly and spalted. And it's just, it's turned to a quarter an inch wall thickness, and I'm just really kind of happy with the way it
Beautiful
turned out.
bottom, yeah.
But it's so fragile looking. I keep it on top of a display cabinet where no one can possibly reach it. And I just bring it down for show and tell.
It's amazing the bark is staying on this one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there's nothing for it to hang on to, but there it is. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, look at this over here. Somehow he managed to turn this thing and not break that little bit of bark over there.
And that one over there.
Over there, yeah, over there. There's pieces of bark on here that if I had turned this, the bark would have been gone about a minute and a half ago.
I assume you turned that green?
Yeah,
Yeah, Ellis turns everything green and lets the wood
Okay.
go. And it,
unless it's something that's been laying around my shop for a long time, but it's I don't like the feeling of turning dried wood. It's like turning a cinder block compared to something that's nice and green and pliable and wet and wonderful.
apple core to potato peelings flying over your
Yeah,
shoulder.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When you when you turn that piece of Ellis, did you turn the outside first and then in the inside? When do you remember?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Did. That's pretty much always my take. I start on the outside and then I make the inside match the outside the best I can.
Okay.
It's, in a way, it's a little more demanding than turning the inside first, I think, because if you turn the inside first and then you can turn the outside to it and end up with, very precisely thin wall sections everywhere because it's easier to turn the outside. Whereas if you're hollowing something or turning out the inside, it's not so difficult with an open bowl, but with a hollow form, it's hard to turn the inside of the thing. Like this piece, for example, a lot of the bowls I turn, full disclosure here, a lot of the bowls I turn, I sort of leave the bottom a little thicker than it ought to be. I mean, some of these are turned down to, very fine wall thickness throughout, but
an eighth of an inch, quarter of an inch, yeah.
But sometimes I just leave more there just because I don't want to risk messing anything up at the last minute, especially if I really like the piece, because it's the form you're looking at more than the weight.
And what is this one? What is the wood?
This is maple burl.
Maple burl.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous piece of burl, and that's about 10 inches across.
Yeah,
9?
this is 10 inches by 5 inches
5
high,
inches,
and it's
yeah.
got 1.25 inch hole in the top.
Yeah.
But it's got a really
When you turn a thing like this, how do you get the chips out?
well. Ellsworth showed me a way to do it with a little scraper. I don't know how many of you people have spent time with David.
Quite a few of them.
I bet they have, but yeah, he used to use this little scraper. He'd stop the lathe and scrape them out. I don't do that at all. I put a soccer ball needle on my air compressor hose, and I just stick that in there, stop the lathe, blow it out. And you have to learn which way to point the hose so that the chips don't come out and get you right in the face.
I think when I would do that, I would get a lot of chips in my face. That would be. Do you wear face shield?
Yeah, oh my God. I can't even afford one of the latest face shields. In fact, maybe some of you guys can discuss face shields at some point.
We've done that lots of times.
I've got this ancient Airwear America thing that has a built-in fan and a little tiny
Like
NIOSH filter.
a hat?
It's like a hat with a face shield and a beard gasket on it, but I've had to repair it so many times. It's held together with leather and zip ties and, but it still works. And I use it without fail. Yeah.
Now, when you were in business in PA, what kind of shop did you have?
Well, I had a small rustic cabinet shop in the woods. It was a bank barn, a 2-story bank barn. And I had anywhere from 2 to 7 employees over the years, and we were knocking out mostly commissioned furniture. I didn't do a lot of speculative work. I worked with architects and designers in Philadelphia and New York, and we did, well, and we did a lot of interior, architectural interior woodworking, not so much turning, it's kind of off.
So the turning is all your own hobby, really.
Yeah, well, I've been turning since I was 9. My father got me my first little Rockwell lathe at age 9, and that's 62 years ago, or 65 years ago.
65 years ago. And you don't sell turnings, do you? Or do you?
No,
Yeah.
no,
You give them away and keep them.
exactly.
So that's why there's so many of them in the house here.
Yeah, my wife's not happy that I keep them all either. We have boxes of them out in the shed that we don't even have room to display here.
What's this one?
This is a piece of, gods, what is that, John?
I don't know. Some kind of burl.
I did so many woodworking shows in the old days, and I would always pick up these little pieces of sort of vagabond slabs and, blocks of wood.
Are you guys seeing this okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
How's the focus on that?
It's great.
This is,
You gotta get a little more into the light. So just
oh yeah, we have
you
horrible
just
light
reach
here.
over that way and it's okay. You can see we're doing okay.
Oh, we are, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Could you get, yeah, if you could get the other screen out of the way, it wouldn't be so distracting.
It's hard, a little hard to do. I'll give it a try though. It means
Are you talking about
rearranging.
the screen
Yeah,
with
the
us
screen
on
that
it?
we're on.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think we
Yeah.
need to have both screens on.
that would definitely
Okay, there we
distract
go.
me.
Right there. See, that makes it better.
Okay, good. We can hold this ground
Okay.
here.
Yeah, so this piece tapers to like a knife edge at the top. This was an experiment. I think this is some kind of oak, but I just don't know. I've never seen anything quite like it.
Okay, be a little bit further back so the light's a little better on it. Okay. Can you get that huge pot? Let's talk about that one.
Those are tapered walls, did he say?
Yeah.
Yeah, they taper from about 1/4 of an inch at the bottom to 0 at the top. So that this bark edge is just goes to a
Yeah.
knife edge in places.
The bottom is just thick enough so the thing will stand up, but there's no extra weight there. Now
One
you're
last housekeeping. Turn that light off in the background there, John. The one on the desk or whatever.
that
That's
one.
right where the edge of the bowls are.
Yeah.
The wind is not bad. It's just that light. There we go.
There you go.
We're soon going to have a studio here.
Yeah, well, yeah, we tried to set up as good as we can this morning, but it's we're at a breakfast bar in a very lovely house in Bradenton. We have some guys on here from Braden, from this area, Sarasota, or we used to. I don't know if we do anymore.
Okay, so this is a little pot that, oh, brother, this was a pound of flesh to turn this
You
thing.
got to
I'll
put
tell
that a
you.
little further back, and I'll get a little
Here, let
further
me
up.
get-
Yeah, get some of this stuff out of the way here. We can move around a little bit, but right now we're going to stay in the one spot.
How's that?
Yeah, that's great. That's a U, I think.
That is.
And the top is very interesting, one of those kind of double turnings. So you turned that whole thing through that tiny little hole.
Yeah, all the chips came out of that 1.5 inch hole.
And there's a lot of holes in the side here, so there was a lot of air being turned.
I used a tool. You guys familiar with Thompson lathes?
Yeah, Thompson Tools, sure we are.
Yeah, no, not Doug Thompson. I'm talking about, there was a guy named Thompson who built Ellsworth's old 2,000-pound lathe. Remember that?
I kind of do.
And David gifted me this 6-foot long turning tool, hollowing tool. It has an adjustable tip on it, and the shank is about, I don't know, 1.5 feet long, and the handle's another 3 foot long. And I needed that to get all the way to the bottom of this thing, because there's no other turning tool. Like if you use a typical Ellsworth gouge, which is a 5/8 inch Henry Taylor, or what are the others?
Yeah.
You can't get deep. I can't get deeper than maybe 8 or 10 inches.
Yeah,
And that's with a new gouge that I haven't already ground down to nothing, and because you just get so much vibration. But with this giant Thompson hollowing tool, you get all the way to the bottom of a piece this
Well,
big. And this piece is like 16, 18 inches high.
And how I'm liking is the rim has got it is dried to a very subtle scallop.
Right. So
It's really pretty.
again, you get into the subtleties of letting green wood settle into its final configuration here. You know, it's just lovely. And the Taxus genus, by the way, that you is a member of, is typified by branches that come out from the base of the stem and roots that come into the base of the stem. And there's like a nut in the middle where you've got roots on one side of the piece and stems coming out the other side. So everywhere you look here, there are knots going either in or out. Here's the base. Well, you can't see a dang
You
thing.
can't see a damn thing there.
How about that?
Getting there.
Well, anyhow,
Too much hands. Yeah.
this
You
this
used
thing-
for a finish.
I used water locks a great deal. I liked a wiped finish, so I would just pad some water locks on there and let it set up and pad some more on. I'd build several coats over a period of time. And I just refreshed this one that was looking thirsty to me this morning. So I got a little walnut oil out of the refrigerator and put a, you know, and sort of what I have this concept of extending a finish. In other words, you don't just slap it on and wait for it to dry. You put a really minimal amount on, just enough to saturate, but you keep rubbing it in and out until it's really down to a whisper. There's nothing left. There's no residue on there. You don't wipe it dry with a dry rag, but you take your rubbing rag and you just rub it in until it's
It's like
dry to the touch. But
it's like making love, isn't it? Well,
please carry on. You know, tell me more.
Hey, I'm sorry.
Well, you know, the thing Ellis and I have in common is we're kind of druids, you know, and we do the spirituality of the wood and understanding it as living creatures.
Yes.
My question is practical. How many pieces did you turn till you had one you hadn't broken? When you turn so thin, how do you manage it? You weren't using a laser, I'm sure.
No, I don't break pieces. But, you know, I hate to say it, but I really haven't broken a whole lot of things in my day.
So what's the secret?
I'm too cheap. I don't want to ruin a good piece of wood. So I'm like overly cautious. That's why I was saying sometimes I'll let a piece be too heavy on the bottom because I could go further, but then now I'm worried about it, and I never trust my measuring tools. You know, Ellsworth uses a piece of
Wire.
aluminum rod, and you know that's irksome to me. I'd rather just get it over with.
I have a question. That large one that you just showed,
Yeah,
how long did it take you to bore it out? Did you do that all in one day?
I didn't bore it at all.
You hollowed.
Wait,
I
you
hollowed.
hollowed it out.
Right. No, this would have been about maybe a few sessions. You know, I didn't work for 8 hours straight on it, but I probably have 8 or 10 hours into digging that out.
The thing is, if you leave it on there, it'll change shape and it won't be round anymore, or it'll only be round for a little bit.
The other aspect to the time dimension is that when you're composing with a chunk of wood, you don't know what the shape wants to be until you turn it for a while and see how the holes are lining up and
So
emerging and so forth.
So you don't know what you're making until you get in there a little bit.
Right. You want to make sure you have solid wood everywhere, you know, and that means digging in a little deeper here, or, you know, you begin to see the shape is it's a fluid, it's more of a process than a predetermined. I don't sit down and draw a picture of what I want to do. I let the wood tell me what it wants to
You
be.
said I'm
Would
different.
you say that the holes result from you turning it green and allowing the wood to move between the time you turn the outside and the inside?
No, the holes the holes are where there are voids between these several branches that are coming and going, and they're just voids in the wood that, you know,
discover.
Oh, okay.
when you hollow out the inside, suddenly they become holes instead of just depressions.
So you're
Right.
making
What
the
was that, like a
outside
piece
and
of
then-
yew or cedar?
It's you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get I turned a lot of yew and you get some crazy things from included bark and voids like that. Okay, thanks.
So,
Yeah.
so when you, so when you do this in 2 sessions, what do you do with the piece between sessions? Do you wrap it up? Do you put it in plastic?
Yeah. Yeah, I put it in a plastic bag. I leave it on the lathe and I just throw a bag over the headstock and wrap it around the spindle, you know, and it keeps it perfect for the next day.
So what's this one? We
This
have
one?
50 on screen right now.
Oh,
One quick question, Ellis.
Yeah.
Can you explain how you finish the bottoms of those ultra thin pieces, like jam chucks or vacuum chucks?
Both actually. I've got a funny lathe that's a pull wood, and so it has a solid spindle, so I can't knock it out and put a regular vacuum fitting on it. I have a special chuck that Bill Grumbine made for me, that has the vacuum nipple on the side of the chuck, and there's ball bearings in there where that's my best explanation for it. But at any rate, so I created different things out of Schedule 80 PVC pipe to make vacuum chucks. You make a MDF base, and you glue that into the bottom of a piece of PVC pipe, and then you drill it out for the bolt holes to attach it to the vacuum chuck, and then you get this cushioning material. You can buy it at Michael's Art Supplies. You know, it's about a 16th inch thick sort of cushy stuff. And I just glue that onto the rim. So it gives you a fairly good gasket for a vacuum chuck. But usually if I can possibly do a jam chuck, I do that first. Because it's easier. And more
John,
trustworthy.
could I ask you to go to his shop and take some pictures of that vacuum chuck so next week you can show us what it actually is?
We might even walk out there before the end of the hour, but there's so much stuff to look at in here. We're not going to make it right now.
I'd just be interested in seeing a picture of the chuck. That's all. Sometime. Not today.
I will take some.
Well, my shop is kind of an embarrassment compared to what I'm used to. I had a 2,400 square foot workshop in Pennsylvania. I have a 200 square foot shop here stacked to the rafters with garbage. You know, so it's
And you guys have, you guys have often said to me, "Oh, you know everybody." Well, Ellis knows even more everybody than I do. So
I don't know about that. All right, so you want to hit this one real quick?
yeah.
This one is a piece that my wife and I did back in the 70s. This is a piece of African paduk. It's a 10-inch bowl, but she's a painter. And she worked as a colorist and a designer in New York City doing fabric designs. So we try to collaborate on a lot of things, and or at least for a while we did. We've done a few things over the years. But this is her little just embellishment that she put on this simple paduk plate, and it's
Really nice.
been sitting on our knickknack shelf ever since.
What's this one?
This one has a story to it. This is a piece of what do you call it?
We're old guys. We can't remember a damn thing.
Yeah, between us, we're pretty pathetic.
Looks like ambrosia is something.
Yeah, no, it's what's the maple that it's in the maple genus? I'm sorry, this is sycamore. Okay, this is a piece of sycamore, American sycamore. Ha. But it has ambrosia beetle holes in it, and of course the little clouds. We used to call this, when we'd find these in maple back in the old days before ambrosia became the term of art. We used to call it ghost maple because it had these little ghosts that were sort of rising up from all these little.
I like that better than ambrosia.
Yeah.
Ambrosia makes me think I'm going to have to eat it.
But you can see, like this one, how
Where's the pith on that?
the pith is in the side, I think.
Yeah, I thought so. I think that's a weird arrangement of pith.
You
No, there's no pith in this. This
Yeah,
came off the side of a log. But the story behind this is, I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy named Phil Wall. Do you remember Phil Wall?
Vaguely, yeah.
He was a really kind of a remarkable turner, and he and Gary Evans came to visit me in Pennsylvania one day, and we said, "Hey, let's turn something." So we threw this chunk of sycamore on the lathe, and we all had our whack at it, and this is what came out of the deal, and it's a pretty cool piece,
Pretty
you
cool
know.
piece, yeah.
And Phil's gone now, and you know, so it's kind of a little legacy of his.
You ever have a couple of the favorites over there?
Hey,
Rather than
where in Pennsylvania was your shop?
It was in Upper Bucks County, between, it was north of New Hope and south of Bethlehem and Allentown area. So it was in the upper
Cooperstown, yeah?
Coopersburg.
Coopersburg.
Cooperstown is the baseball hall.
Oh, yeah, Coopersburg.
I'm gonna go yard sale in there, see if I can find any of the bowls.
This one, this is the one I told my kids never to sell for less than $1,000. Not that it's worth $1,000, but you know, you get certain pieces that you think are really, you just couldn't possibly have done them any better. And this is a piece of cherry. I'm sorry, this is a piece of pear. And I used to love turning pear. And the main reason I liked it, besides that it turns beautifully and finishes nicely, is that you can do it in bowl orientation and have the pith go through and through the piece and not get a single crack in the pith. After the piece dries, you turn it green, and after the piece dries, you don't get a single crack in it.
As long as you get it thin enough.
Well, you have to get it, yeah, very
This is
thin.
eggshell thin.
This is pretty damn thin, yes. And
This piece weighs about an ounce.
yeah, so and it's just got such a lovely, you know, just a mild look at how the grains or the rings go just perfectly symmetrically on all sides of the piece. It's just
a beautiful piece.
One of my
Is that
favorite.
Bradford pear?
You know, I think it is. Bradford's the invasive one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it for all those same reasons.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guess another one. Get one of those big tall pots up on top there.
Can we see the top of that little one, John?
Yeah.
Huh.
How's that?
Very nice.
And this is more of that God damn, what is the name of this wood, John? My mind. It's
Treewood, definitely from a
Treewood. Okay, that's it. I thank you for bailing me out on it. Yeah, this is it's the wood that has the red in it all the time. Come on.
elderberry.
No.
No,
Box elder.
Box elder.
Box elder.
Box
Or
elder.
Canadians call it something else. What, maple? Some kind of maple? What do you Canadians call box elder?
I don't see it.
Manitoba maple.
Manitoba maple. Okay.
Yeah, Manitoba
We
maple.
don't have it on Quadra Island, but we've got arbutus up there, which is madrone in the U.S.
Oh, we're going to see some of that too, I think.
If you want to.
Box elder is in the maple family.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, and box elder fades. Ellsworth used to pull his hair out with box elder because he couldn't get the red to stay in the woods. He used to put suntan lotion on it. He'd put 52 SPF sunscreen on his box elder pieces to try to keep the.
A lot of guys just color it in with red Sharpie.
John, I need to ask, what is the spiritual significance of wood that when you turn it, you have only 1.5 inch openings? So far, most of his are like 1.5 inch openings. Is there some internal thing going on that you need to have small openings?
Actually, that's a large opening. I would have a smaller opening if I could get a big tool in it.
It's beyond me. Everything I make has a lid. I make jars and boxes with lids.
Except your head. I mean, that needs a lid right now, to tell you the truth.
And everything Ellis makes has got these little, well, not everything, but a lot of these have these small openings. But I just love the shape of these things. These are just beautiful forms.
Well, this is another case where the final shape of the wood gives you more information about the radial and tangential shrinkage of this particular species. Box elder, this is shaped like a football. I don't know if you can really appreciate it, but the pith
is
goes
right through the
through
middle.
like this, and it is just shaped like a football. It's out of round by a good inch, you know, on a 9-inch piece. So it's pretty interesting. I don't know why I like to see that. You know, a lot of people would really prefer to see perfectly round pieces, but that's not me.
In a minute, I'm going to do a little housekeeping and change from the sound coming from the laptop to coming through the phone so we can walk around. But right now, we're going to just bring pieces to the phone.
There's spalted maple.
I think Ellis's eye for form is just really fabulous.
Here's a piece of holly. I was
Oh, that was a beautiful
very
piece.
proud of this piece.
We looked at all these last night, and my mind got blown, as it always does when I visit. This piece of holly is spectacular. Again, with the pith going right through the middle of it.
Here's a piece of marble wood.
Marble wood. I have never seen marble wood that size.
Yes.
Where does it come from, Marblewood?
That's a good question. For some reason, I'm thinking South America, but
Well, then I have a question.
Yeah.
You like to turn green, but I don't know any imported wood that would be green, right? It's all dry.
that's not true.
Oh, okay.
And especially a lot of imported wood comes in log form, and if it's intended for turning, what they generally do is they block it up and then they put it in a wax bath, and you buy it totally green, you know.
Yeah, when you get through that wax, it's often pretty. I've made that mistake a number of times. I think the wood is dry because it's been in the store and all that. I turn off all the wax and it starts to move around.
Well, that's cool to know. I thought it was all dry. So
No. And even like guitar wood, like I live 20 minutes from the Martin Guitar Factory, and I've been a guitar player all my life. So I used to go to their sawmill, which was run by a friend of mine, Joe Steinbeck, and they would bring in cocobolo logs and Indian rosewood logs, and they had a 7-foot Brenta sawmill that they used to like resaw the stuff for guitar parts and whatnot. And so all that was green, and there's no kiln schedule for any of that stuff. So what they would do is they would just age it for a long time, you
That's
know,
the
but
only
they
way
were
to do it.
dealing with things that were 3/16 of an inch thick. So they weren't, it didn't take forever to dry, but if you had to dry ebony in the solid, it would take a lot longer. So what else you want to see here, John?
Well, any more from there you want to show us?
Here's an unsung wood from Florida that a friend of mine had a pile of it left over from some job. This is mango. Mango trees are everywhere here in Western Florida.
Beautiful piece of wood, spalted.
Yeah, and this guy had a bunch of 16-quarter mango slabs laying around, and I just grabbed one and turned several pieces out of it. I gave most of them away, but it's very lightweight wood. It sucks up finish like you can't believe, but it takes a nice polish. And yeah, so that's a good one. I showed you that one. You can see my Richard Raffin piece if you want.
Yeah,
You guys know Richard Raffin?
we all know Richard Raffin.
Well,
Richard Raffin's going to get the AAW Lifetime Achievement Award this year.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
About time.
About time, I'd say.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, when I was with American Woodworker, we had a lot of people come in and do demos at our shop in Emmaus, Pennsylvania, and Raffin came in one weekend and he turned this bowl out of some Australian burl or elm. Yeah, elm. And it took him, I'd say, roughly 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The
Raffin's
guy
a
is
pro.
he's just a treasure, blew my mind. I think he sold this to me for like $70. Yeah, so there's that.
Okay, that's that cabinet. How about over here?
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, we're going to bring pieces over. I mean, there's so much stuff here.
Well, here's one of Hannes Michelson's hats. This is a piece of, you can show him this to him.
I don't know quite what I'm seeing here.
Well,
Very heavy.
it's heavy because I could hardly turn it. This is what, if you've ever turned wood from Australia, everything that grows in Australia, I think, has a specific density or of about 1.2. You know, you can't even hardly get a chisel into this stuff. So I was turning this with Allen wrenches and I just gave up. You know, I couldn't get any deeper. That hole's only a half an inch. So that's why it's heavy, but I kept it because the wood is just so curly and wonderful and lustrous. And too bad you can't see it in the
You can see it. It's there.
Can?
Yeah.
Right.
Where's the piece that rocked forever?
Oh, that's the acacia piece. To do this right, you need to have a larger table, but this is a piece of black acacia that I got at one of our woodworking shows, I think, back in the 90s.
Yeah, these guys used to organize the American woodworker shows in where was
Fort
it?
Washington and
Washington.
Chicago and
Yeah.
Anaheim. So we did 3 shows coast to coast.
And I used to sell books at those shows.
And at one year, we brought in Stuart Mortimer from the UK.
Oh, there's a bunch of Stuart Mortimer pieces here to look at.
And he turned the world's largest bowl. It was like 8'9" or 7'9" or something in diameter and 5 feet high. We bought a log from the coast of Oregon, from Gold Beach, Oregon, and the log came in at 6,000 pounds, and we needed 2 heisters to get it off the flatbed that brought it all the way coast to coast. And we had to hollow it out with chainsaws because you couldn't even lift it to get on the lathe. And then we imported this lathe called a Highlander from Scotland. And this lathe has a faceplate on the drive center, and it has a faceplate on the tail center. So we had this little island in the middle of this giant chunk of wood that was anchored to the tailpiece, and then a drive center here with a 24-inch faceplate and about 20, lag screws holding things together. And we turned the world's largest bowl over a period. We trucked it from one show to the next and finished it in Anaheim. And I had a turn at it. We had a 7-foot turning tool with a limiting head on it. You know, it's like a ring tool with a little cap on it that you can adjust the size of the shaving. Because if you ever had a catch with something that was traveling at, and I think it was going about, it might have been going 20 RPM or something. Yeah, it might have been like 20 RPM, something like that. Pretty darn slow. But the shavings that were coming off weighed about a pound per foot, and they were 20 feet long. You know, they're just like sliding out the back. It was Sitka spruce. And the Guinness people found out about it and gave us the world's largest bowl. And I know it's been exceeded by now.
What's the story on this one?
Well, the story on this one is that it's a bowl like one of those dolls that you punch and it stands back up again, you know? Well, this thing, you can turn it on its side and just walk away. Jesus. And it will right itself, but it follows this wonderful random pattern. And the trick to doing that was to turn a thin-walled bowl with a very small foot at the bottom. Like, I think this is like 1.5 inches,
Yeah.
1 inch and a quarter foot on the bottom
There's
here.
one that had like that you've got that has no foot that we saw last night.
Oh yeah, well that's this one. We
Oh,
already looked at that one.
Okay.
Okay, so anyhow, so you have this little tiny foot, and then you have this big belly on the bottom here. So when it has to find itself, and it'll rock like this sometime for 10 minutes at a time. But the trick is to leave the bottom heavy enough that it keeps the center of gravity very low. So I don't know if that's something that would amuse any of you.
Very much. We love that kind of stuff.
You do.
Okay. What else we got on this shelf before we go around the corner?
Okay.
You guys on with this still? You having fun?
Yep. Hey,
Okay.
you know what makes that bowl helpful? It's easy to dust around it. You just rock it a little and you can dust it. Because that's the big beef with my wife and all the stuff sitting around.
Oh.
Who's going to dust the shelves?
We just spent breakfast time dusting turnings.
I spent yesterday listening to my wife telling me how much dust was on all that stuff. Anyhow, here's an interesting, this is kind of a rare chunk of wood, I think. I don't know if anybody else has got any. But this is a piece of yellow cedar burl. And yellow cedar is one of my absolute favorite species. It's a revered wood. It's actually called Pacific Coast cypress. It's in the cypress family, and it's not a true cedar, but it is absolutely, without doubt, the most fragrant wood I have ever turned. It's just got this wonderful, pungent,
It's also kind of like turpentine, or
yeah, but
yeah.
a sweet turpentine, and it is just delicious. And I got a piece from this guy up in British Columbia many years ago, and I turned this plate out of it, and the burls and the swirls and the gradations of color are just, they're just to die for.
I've seen a lot of wood in my time, and this is one of the more beautiful pieces I've seen. Yeah, we're druids, we don't, I mean, I know a lot of people get a lot of pleasure out of painting and decorating, and I'm all for that. But Ellis and I are not those guys.
That's for sure. Here's a piece of buckeye burl. This is
Wow.
Yeah, this
Spectacular.
This piece is about 14 inches high, maybe 15, and 8 inches in diameter, the widest part. But it was a chunk of buckeye that I don't even remember where I got it. I remember where I turned it though. I don't know if you guys know Bill Grumbine, but he was a neighbor of ours in Pennsylvania, and he was another guy with a pool wood lathe, and he was having a fiesta one day, and I was over there, and I got on his lathe and turned this thing, and it's California buckeye, but it's the biggest piece that I've ever turned. And I like it because it has all the sapwood still in it and the bark edge, but there's no bark left, as you can see.
I don't mind that.
But it gets tricky when you're turning a piece that has nothing. See, this is the height of the piece spinning around, so there's nothing in this area. So you're only turning this section of it, at any given moment when you get.
Yeah, turning a lot of air.
Yeah, a lot of air, right.
Okay, is there any more on this shelf that we really need to see, or we're going to go around the corner? We've got a few minutes left.
Go around the corner.
Okay, we're going to take
We're running out of time.
we're quarter of. We're good, and I'm going to carry the laptop around the corner.
I thought this was going to drag on and on.
It doesn't drag. Well, we want to see this piece.
Okay.
What's the story here?
This is a piece of Pennsylvania cherry.
It's about how about 14 across?
It's around 12, I'd say, around 12 inches.
Gorgeous.
And but the shape of it is, this is a shape that I stole directly from David. He really emphasized to me, or this, we talked so much over the years. I've known him since 1980. We used to play ping pong together in his upstairs of his studio. But this,
I'm holding two cameras, a laptop in one hand and a phone in the other, so excuse the wobbling around.
this shape, this fullness is something you can't even really fully articulate. You just have
It's
to
just it's a beautiful
you
shape.
just sort of have to feel the shape, and it comes.
The painting in the background is by Candy Walentine, who paints as Candy Young. It's gorgeous painting.
Yeah, and this is and that's a bird's eye maple frame that I made.
Okay, around the corner of the artifacts.
John,
How old is that cherry?
That's cherry, yeah.
How old is it?
How old? The tree?
The cherry.
We don't know.
Well, I turned the piece 20 years ago. I don't know how old the piece is.
Okay, that explains it. It was really dark for Pennsylvania cherry, I thought. And
Yeah, cherry one is really sort of salmon colored.
Okay, now we're over at a cabinet full of tiny little artifacts. I'll open her up and go for show us.
can I just a quick question, John? How much time do you spend in your shop these days?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I only work as necessary. I have so many other things going on. We've got a tropical garden here. I do a lot of gardening, and I I still build furniture. I just built a beautiful vanity for our house and so forth, but
It is a tiny shop, so
yeah.
we're not gonna make it to the shop today.
it's all hand tool stuff. But anyhow, what do you want me to show you?
Oh, that one, the Mortimer.
Oh, Mortimer. Okay. Stuart Mortimer, I heard from Stuart just recently. In fact, I sent him a note and he got back to me. Okay, this is a piece that he turned.
I'm having trouble getting it. Get over in the light with that. Yeah, I know. Can you guys see that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't.
Well, you can see it there.
Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. Yeah, anyhow, how close can you get?
It's pretty close.
This is all hand chased with files and saws and stuff. The guy is just a wizard. And look at how perfect
And that's a plastic, not ivory?
this is not ivory, no.
Yeah, some other material.
Ivorine.
Ivorine. Show us some of the other precious, I mean, there's just precious things in here in this cabinet, these darling little turnings.
Oh, this was one that Jen Shirley did for me way back when. It's a beautiful little curly maple thing with carvings and
Wow.
wood burning in it. And let's see what else.
Well, you showed me some really lightweight little things and tiny little pots.
This thing weighs about 3 grams. This pot, it's so thin that you can actually see through it. You can see light through it. This is yellow cedar burl. That was a fun piece to turn.
What's this one?
This is a piece of redwood that was sitting around in a pile in California for like 100 years before this guy got a hold of it. And he decided to do a pay it forward program with it. So he offered to send a chunk to anybody who wanted to turn something out of it. And I said, yeah, send me a chunk and I'll turn something. And then we published all these pieces. And so it's got lovely, lovely grain things going on. This is not your typical straight and narrow redwood at all. And then I turned this, I guess that's Indian rosewood finial piece that sits atop.
What's that piece with the blue end down on that same shelf?
That one.
Which one?
The blue has a blue in it or on it? Yeah, that one.
That's a piece of pottery from the Acoma pottery plate in Mexico, actually. Oh no, from Taos.
What are those little things in front of it? Yeah.
Well, that's a tiny little pot. What does it look like? You know. And these two are, I think, John Lucas made these for me.
Some of you guys know John Lucas. What's this thing?
Oh, this is made by that guy Horst, the
German.
I don't know what nationality he was. He's gone now, but
Gorst Duplessis.
Gorst Duplessis, exactly. And he had this engine lathe. I don't know if it was. He didn't have a Holzapfel, did he?
He did, and he had rose engine stuff.
Right. Well, this was the rose engine thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty astounding. This is a piece of curly koa that Ellsworth gave me. I turned this in 06. Here's another piece of yellow birch burl or yellow cedar burl. Here's a John Kelsey piece. Oh, look at that. Isn't that remarkable? Look at the guy knows what he's doing, doesn't he?
Does it have magnets in it?
No, this is not the
magnet. This is pre-magnet.
Pre-magnet.
It's pre-magnet.
And then remember that guy from France who did these boxes that were he came and did a demo at our shop.
Escalon.
Yeah, I think that's who it was. The guy who uses the Badan all the time.
Yeah, and they look like golf clubs, all of the shapes.
Yeah. Well, look at that. I mean, that's not your average box, is it?
No, it isn't.
How do you sign your pieces? I haven't seen anything on the bottom. Do you do any signatures and dating on it?
Yeah, I do.
There's one.
This is
his business was called Wood Rose, so that's a little burned in branding iron of a rosebud.
Yeah, the pieces that I did when I was making furniture, if I designed them and built them, I inlaid this rosebud, about a 1/2 inch high rosebud in ivory. I cut it out with a fret saw and inlaid it with a little Fordham tool that had a router base on it. I would inlay it in the bottom or on a piece of furniture or the arm of a chair or something like that. It's just a vanity, you know. And then I had this guy, Rick Herget, make me a branding iron because I got tired of all that inlay work.
Give me a time check, Bowman. What time is it?
It's 10:52. 8
All
minutes
right.
to go.
Okay, what else we got in here?
Well, let's see what might be of interest to you.
Everything's of interest. There's nothing, I haven't seen, I mean, what's this one here?
Oh, this is spalted hackberry. Spalted hackberry with an ebony finial and a mastodon tusk top finial.
That wouldn't come out a little earlier today. No, you got it out.
Yeah, there it is. So
So
I
that's
did,
got a little rim in there that the lid sits on, so it's
yeah,
like
exactly.
Ray Key style.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So
And what's this little tiny little thin thing here?
in front,
Yeah, that one.
wow, that is really light. This is some kind of burl, John. I don't know what it
And it's
was.
definitely from a tree.
You've used that line before.
I use that line all the time.
Yeah.
All these guys go online, you know, on Facebook, say, can anybody help me identify this wood? And I say, yeah, definitely from a tree.
And
That's
here's
about all you're gonna know from looking at side grade.
here's one of Ellsworth's pieces. Talk about the small hole. That hole is less than 1/4 of an inch in diameter. This piece is 2 inches high.
Beautiful piece of wood.
Yeah, amazing. And this piece has a story to it. I don't know if David will.
Every one of these pieces has a story.
Well, will appreciate my telling the story, but we used to have these bodacious New Year's Eve parties, and we'd get as many as 60 people to these parties, and we'd all get pretty well lubricated, and then we'd head out to the shop and talk about this and that, and Ellsworth was there. He was always there, but I had a bunch of ivory in those days before it was politically incorrect, and I chucked a piece on my old J-line lathe that I had at the time, and he grabbed a tool and went right over to it and turned that in about 18 seconds, you know, and the wall thickness on this is
32nd.
just about a millimeter,
Yeah.
you know, and it's got a turned foot. I mean, it's just, the guy just blows me away.
It's just astounding.
Yeah. So there's that. I don't know how to put that away. And well, oh, here's something that you guys might appreciate. And living in Lancaster, a lot of you, this is square bark euonymus. It's a burning bush that you see it all over the East Coast. You know,
over my yard.
Yeah, well, it's an invasive in Pennsylvania, but if you let it grow to a stem thickness of like 2 or 3 inches, you can harvest it for turning things like finials and small boxes and things, and it takes detail as well or better than boxwood. And the grain pattern is so tight, I can't even see the grain in this wood, in the euonymus. So you have to find an old one in a hedgerow someplace and cut it down when the guy isn't looking. But we had a bunch of them in our property in PA. But look at the detail that holds.
Yeah, it's like Cuban mahog or box.
Ah, it's just astounding
What's
stuff.
what's the layperson name for that wood?
It's burning bush.
Oh, burning bush. Okay.
Which we all have in our yards.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
What's this big pot down here?
Oh, that's another chunk of holly, actually. I had a bunch of holly that a woman in Virginia sent me. She had taken down a whole tree. And so what else?
I'm going to turn the camera around just for a quickie look at some of these paintings.
Yeah, everyone in my family's an artist. That my son painted the one of his wife's grandmother in Peru, and this is my wife's painting that she won a oil painting award at the Tinicum Art Festival with that. That's her mother's. Her mother was a very prodigious painter.
What about these guys down here? Bring them over here where the laptop is so we got a microphone.
What, these?
That pot.
Oh,
Those two.
okay. Here's a couple pots. More pots. So this is a piece of maple burl. I didn't even put a finish on this. This is raw wood. A lot of times I get lazy and just, let the raw pot sit there as a testimony. Comes straight off the lathe. Maybe do a little sanding on the outside. And this is a piece of spalted maple that's interesting because it's got all the spalting borders here, but it doesn't have all the multiple colors within those borders that you sometimes see with spalting. Here,
It's really a
here's
pottery
a
shape.
bit of it. Yeah, it's typical pottery shape.
Yeah.
Hey, one quick question. Do you finish the inside? And if you do, how do you do that?
No, I don't. I, I'm the kind of turner who's mostly concerned with the outside form, and technically I try to get as thin of a wall thickness as I can, and then I leave it at that. I mean, to me, if I can scrape that wall thickness with my hollowing tool and get it smooth, I can feel it. I can feel it in the tip of the tool that it's smooth as I drag the tool through. And you have to, it's a touch that you have to have. You have to hold the tool very, very lightly and let it just, don't push it into the wall, because then it's going to follow all the lumps in the wall as you come up.
So you're not choking up on the tool. You're not got a death grip.
Right. And you're just pulling it through and hitting the high spots as you come. And if you do it gently and make a point of not pushing against it and following all the bumps, you end up with a fairly smooth inside wall. And yeah, so that's if there's one tip I would give you, that would probably be it.
John, you got a minute to wrap up.
Well, let's wrap up then. What else I guess I don't know. How am I going to wrap this up? I'm going to say thank you very much, Ellis, for a delightful morning. I'm going to go back over to the breakfast bar where I can put this laptop down. I'm going to thank all you guys for coming on. And yeah, we're right here at 10:58 or 10:59. Anybody got anything you want to say or ask? We got a minute or two here.
Excellent show.
Well, I thank you for joining me here in my home. And I don't do a lot of show and tell these days, but
yeah, he had some resistance to doing this, but I talked him into it.
I owe John a lot.
I'm glad you did.
John has been a great mentor of mine for many years.
And you've been a mentor of mine too, and a good friend for many years. There you go.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. He has certainly made a mentor to a lot of us over the last couple of years since COVID with this Zoom. It's the highlight of my week, and meeting guys like you makes it over the, as they say in the UK, over the moon about it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Jim.
It's our pleasure.
Anybody else last word?
If you have a show somewhere, John, you be sure to tell us, because it would be lovely to see these in person, So.
Yeah.
Well, if you're ever in Bradenton, Florida, call up John and get my address. Stop by.
And I will get some shots of the shop. There's a couple of very interesting things out there. I don't think I can hold the signal walking out there with the laptop. And a pretty likely old man will drop one or the other. So,
Can I just ask Ellis a question? On that very large bowl that Stuart Mortimer made, am I correct in saying that's the one he laid down in afterwards?
Yes, that's the one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have photos of that. I could give you one of the photos.
Yeah. I've seen them. Stuart lives about 45 minutes away from me.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
I just spoke to him not long ago, and he sounds like all's well over there. He's doing.
Yeah. He's giving everything up.
Is he?
Yeah.
Dawn is at the Forest of Beer Woodturners in the UK.
Forest of Beer.
Yep.
Oh,
Forest of Beer.
I must visit you.
I have a shoulder patch that he gave me from Forest of Beer Woodturners.
Unfortunately, beer spelled B-E-R-E, not B-E-E-R.
Well, just because you don't know how to spell.
Hey, Don, do you ever see whitethorn? I got a few nested pieces of whitethorn from Kieran Forbes. Do you remember Kieran Forbes?
No.
The Mad Monk, he was the Irish woodturner and just an amazing guy. He's gone now, but whitethorn is the wood, and I've never seen it anywhere else. And I was just wondering if anybody knows of a source for it, let me know or sign me up.
White thorn.
Whitethorn,
Oh,
Thorn.
white thorn. A bit like blackthorn.
I guess it is, but it's a
guess.
super fine grained wood, very, very mild figure, and makes a lovely little dish. It's wonderful.
If I find out, I'll let John know.
There you go.
See you all
There you
next
go.
week.